We'll just wait for people to come on. We're expecting quite a number of participants today. So I'll get started once that number reaches what we're expecting. Okay, we might get started. So I'd like to say hi. My name is Trudy Ray. I'm the Chief Operations Officer of Haven Home Safe. And firstly, I'd like to acknowledge country. I'm on Wathaurong land at the moment, and many of our guests are on Wurundjeri country, but I pay my respects to all lands that we are on today and to elders past, present and emerging. And I sincerely thank you for sharing your land with us on this special day. Homeless Persons Week is an incredibly important week to acknowledge the plight of people who are vulnerable and disadvantaged, and particularly in the current climate where, as you know, and you'll probably have heard many, many times, we have almost 120,000 people in this country that are homeless. And add to this the millions of people on low-income families across Australia who spend way above the internationally acknowledged affordability benchmark on 30% of their household income on housing, whether it be a rent or mortgage. So what we're finding, and particularly in these times, and now more than ever as a society, we have learnt that having a home is absolutely a basic human right and also a social determinant of health. COVID has absolutely exacerbated and shone a harsh light on the failings of the Australian housing system. The current housing system increases inequality and does not ensure that everybody has the right to a safe, secure and affordable property. We know in the northern area of Melbourne, where there are significant disadvantages, and you can see it through the Crisis in Crisis report, you can see it through a number of publishing around the number of clients that we're seeing come through our doors. In Preston alone, since March, we have supported more than 1,000 people through either HEF, so Housing Establishment Fund, in order to keep them housed or assist with establishing a tenancy. And the others we've helped with getting into emergency accommodation. Across the state, we've seen a growing number of people in emergency accommodation through COVID, and this is only going to be exacerbated, particularly given yesterday 250,000 people within Melbourne are facing job losses. So there's significant concerns that we have as a homeless service sector of more people facing disadvantage as we move forward. So today is really about shining a light on the experiences of people that have been homeless, and also making sure that we can advocate with our politicians and through campaigns such as Everybody's Home to really ensure that there's education advocacy is at the mainstream of ensuring that everyone knows what is absolutely happening. So without any further ado, I would love to welcome Meredith to speak with you. Meredith Gorman is an incredible advocate for homeless people within the sector, and I welcome Meredith to share some of that with you. Thank you.
Great, thanks very much, Trudy, and thank you everyone for providing me with this opportunity to facilitate a very short session with two wonderful panellists, Janine and Salim, both of whom have lived experience of homelessness. So thanks Janine and Salim for joining with us. We're really keen to get some insight and understanding from you about homelessness, how people become homeless, and how we can end people's homelessness. We'd like you, we've only got 10 minutes and I just have a couple of questions that I'd like to ask you. And I'm sure people are very interested to hear from you. So, Janine, can we start with you? How did you become homeless?
I became homeless after the breakup of my relationship with my partner. We broke up. We were in a rented house. The landlord says, you know, you've got 2 months to move out. House has been demolished. So, you know, I had no income. Not even Centrelink. So then began the journey of trying to find somewhere to live and trying to get onto Centrelink payments and things like that. So, yeah, and that's how I became homeless.
Great, thanks for sharing that, Janine. Salim, can you tell us a bit about your experience of falling into homelessness?
Yeah, for sure. I became homeless at the age of 13 due to domestic violence within the family home. My family environment became quite toxic and shouting and screaming became the norm within my house. Since I identify as part of the LGBTQIA community, my dad is homophobic, and that led to his anger being taken out on me within the home.
Great. So we'll stay with you for a minute, Salim. Could you tell us what was the hardest thing that you had to endure whilst being homeless?
Yeah, personally, the hardest factor of being homeless was the uncertainty and the constant fear of sleeping on the streets, not knowing whether you were going to have food on the table for the night, a warm bed to sleep in, or just a roof over your head. And I can definitely say that school would constantly slip your mind when there's other factors such as, not having a safe place to stay.
Yeah. And Janine, whilst you were homeless, can you tell us some of the hardships that you endured?
Yeah, I can. I think the loss of family was huge. I did manage to get a caravan and was able to put it in my friend's backyard, but then that put his housing at risk because he wasn't supposed to do that. I slept in a caravan that was absolutely full of mould, and it certainly helped to exacerbate pre-existing health issues that I had, which was really, really hard. I guess, I felt hopeless. I didn't feel like there was a light at the end of the tunnel. I was worried about my children and what was happening with them, and yeah, I wasn't able to see them very much during this time, and as much as it was hard for me, it was also very hard for them. They sort of didn't have a choice about what was happening with their family,
Yeah.
So that was incredibly hard to deal with. And the uncertainty is, yeah.
That sounds really difficult. There is no doubt about that for you.
Yeah.
Salim, whilst you were homeless and skirting about the homelessness service system, did you stay in refuges, or where did you get shelter?
Yeah, so a lot of the placements that I was put in, I've stayed in foster families, youth homelessness accommodation and crisis accommodation over the past 8 years, which have totaled to about 42 placements at the moment. So it's quite a high number of placements for a young person. And when you get moved around so much, you can't really focus on other things like employment and school.
Oh, absolutely. I'm sure they were completely compromised whilst you're moving around the system, trying to find somewhere to settle.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, Janine, where are you now? What? You're obviously out of the caravan.
I am out of the caravan. Yes, I'm in a 55 and over unit.
Is this public housing?
Yes, it's public housing. Yeah. This is my forever home. This is the end of the journey, if you like, from homelessness. So, but it took me a long time to kind of get into that thought that this was, this was it. That no one could take it off me or take it away from me, and it was mine.
Yeah. So we were speaking, Janine, before the webinar, and you were saying that it took you quite a few months to really believe that you'd found somewhere that you could stay and that was affordable.
Yeah. And I could you know, just live here and live in peace, you know. Yeah, live peacefully, or as peaceful as is possible. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And
um,
where do you find yourself now?
Oh, so I currently live with the Lighthouse Foundation, their transitional program. I've since developed significant skills to help me through life from Hope Street. So Hope Street's helped me out with that. I'm currently employed by KFC on a part-time basis. And I've been offered a full-time job at the Commonwealth Bank at the moment. So that's just in the home stretch at the moment. Yeah.
Wow.
I'm currently studying my advanced diploma at Home Spokesperson, which will lead into my Bachelor of Business and Law at RMIT next year. And I'm engaged with the Create Foundation, their Youth Action Group program, to make a real difference for young people.
Wow. You know, I think there are people in the community who have this idea that people who experience homelessness are older men who drink too much, you know, that kind of stereotypical image. But what we have here is something so sharply contrasted to that. I would like to know if you had your opportunity, and I guess you do, to say what was the one thing that really assisted you to turn things around, to get you out of homelessness and into something else? What would you, what if you had to nail it, what would you say it was?
Personally, I think the one thing that helped me improve my situation was speaking up and seeking help as soon as possible. It doesn't matter how small an issue might be. You know, when you have resources such as Front Yard's Access Point or Hope Street, they assist you in seeking accommodation, engaging in employment, counselling and mental health. And, you know, I believe all those factors can help any young person, but they've personally affected me and, yeah, helped me out quite a lot.
Fantastic, great. Salim, Janine.
Yep.
If you had to nail it, if you had to say one thing that just really turned things around for you, what would you think? What would you say it was? Tricky question, because I'm sure there's lots of things that help turn things around. But if you had to nail it with one, what would you say?
I guess it would be my tenacity. You know, although things were really, really tough, you still push through. You know. I did so with the help of a really good friend who sort of knew the right questions to ask and all that type of thing, because he had been through the same thing, so he sort of knew where to go and you know what the processes were. So he was able to help me a lot with all of that. So you know, that certainly you know, was a big help as far as that. And, you know, my women's groups that I went to, you know, yeah, they were very supportive and, you know, and once I sort of connected in with them, you know, if I was having a bit of a rough time, you know, they would come and sort of support me and, you know, support us and all of that type of thing.
Yeah. Yeah,
Certainly went a long way.
the whole idea of support, it you know, just feels so crucial, isn't it, to get the support at the right time. So it feels to me like it's a combination of support and housing that ends homelessness for people. You know.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, for sure.
Simple as that, really, isn't it? It's so difficult for us as a society to get that in place. So thank you for sharing your stories with us. My key takeaway messages from what you've said to me is that homelessness can happen to anyone, that you can move around this system for ages and ages until the support and the housing fall into place. It would be ideal if we could pull that in and get the housing and the support quickly and in place for people, so that they don't have to live in dodgy caravans and they don't have to go and stay with 42 different families and, you know, refugees. So thank you very much, both of you.
Thank you.
And I think we're leading in now to Kate. Kate, you're moving in now to talk with us about the campaigning, the Everybody's Home campaign that Homlessness Australia are leading. Is that right?
Yes. Thanks, Meredith. I'd also like to begin just by acknowledging that I'm joining the conversation from Wurundjeri country, pay respects to elders past and present. I just want to explain a little bit about the Everybody's Home campaign and kind of why we have a national campaign. So basically the issues that we've just been hearing about homelessness, I suppose, have this national context because homelessness for most people is created by just simply not being able to find a home that you can afford. And the reason that people really struggle to find homes they can afford is because it's so hard to manage in the private rental market because rents keep going up faster than people's incomes. And also because then when people can't find a place in the rental market, there's no social housing safety net. So the fact is that the federal government's investment in social housing keeps decreasing, and then consequently the amount of social housing that we have in the community keeps decreasing. So to highlight this week, Everybody's Home has released these homelessness heat maps. So I'm just going to show these to you. Sorry, it's just, here we go. So what these heat maps allow you to do, and you can see up here how you can find them on the internet, is that you can click on any electorate. So here we are in Cooper, and you can see that the social housing need in Cooper is 3,200. And I can go down here and change to homelessness. So this is a map just of the inner area of Victoria. Isn't that naughty? It just switched to New South Wales when we really only care about Melbourne when we're down here, don't we? So here we are in Cooper. So what it's showing us is that there's 1,000 people who are experiencing homelessness in Cooper, and the social housing need in Cooper was 3,200 properties, because the social housing need also includes people who are in rent stress in the community. And these numbers were collected before COVID. I just want to show you something else, because this is some information that was put together by the Grattan Institute. Just scroll it up there, and you can see this is how many jobs have been lost by electorate in the country. And Cooper sits, sorry, I just got to find Victoria, New South Wales, here we are. So in Cooper, we've got 7.2% of all jobs have been lost. So we had a problem prior to COVID, and of course now we've got all of this extra unemployment. Of course, over the last week and in the coming weeks, we'll have even more unemployment, and that means more and more people struggling to afford rentals and more need for social housing. That's why it's really interesting to look at this kind of information by electorate, because I think it reminds us that these problems are created by the decisions that governments take. And of course, then as members of the community, we need to reach out to our local representatives and ask them to take the concerns of the local community up to federal parliament. So that's why it's so wonderful to have Ged Kearney here today, who is going to participate in one of the activities that we have called the Social Housing Pledge, because we've got a number of activities planned for this week, and I'll just quickly describe them. So firstly, we want, well, I suppose just to sort of give a bit of context, Everybody's Home, together with a number of other organisations, has put a proposal to government to invest in social housing, but they're not really hearing it. They're not taking the action that they need to take. So we need to hurry them along by putting some pressure on them. So that's why we're asking MPs to take a pledge to build social housing, to be committed to that, and to advocate within Parliament. And we're also asking everybody in the community to email the Treasurer themselves. So you can go to this link up here and complete the information here, and that'll send an email from yourself to the Treasurer saying, Treasurer, I really want you to invest in social housing. So without further ado, because I think Sue might be telling me to get a move on, and I'll pass back to Trudy so she can invite Ged to sign the social housing pledge. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so very much, Kate. And I think looking at those figures, we see such a stark need for more housing, but more so we need wonderful people and wonderful advocates and friends that help us in the sector to do the work that we do. And without further ado, I would really like to welcome Ged Kearney. She's the federal member for Cooper, has served in Parliament since 2018 and is the first woman to have the seat. And Ged is the Shadow Assistant Minister for Skills and the Shadow Assistant Minister for Aged Care, but a truly wonderful friend to Haven Home Safe and all of us in the sector. And I'd love to welcome Ged Kearney here today.
Thanks so much, Trudy, and you really are wonderful. It's an honour to be here with you and to really acknowledge the wonderful work that you do. Salim and Janine, thank you so much for coming on today. It's not easy to do what you've done, and you did it so beautifully and really got the messages across perfectly and with a smile, which is a hard story to tell with a smile. And so thank you for your graciousness and your time. And Meredith, thank you for facilitating that, and Kate, thank you too for the information. What I took away from that wonderful session is, and it's something that I've always known, but you just dived a bit deeper for me actually when I listened to you. I've always known that a home, without a home, you really can't do much else. You can't think about anything else except the fact that you need a home. You know, it's hard to be healthy, it's hard to be fed, as Salim said, you can't look after your kids, Janine. I didn't think that, of course, you know, you worry about your children, you can't get an education, you know, you're not going to worry about school if you haven't got a home. And so many of society's, I guess, troubles, if you like, could simply be solved if we made sure everybody had a safe home. And so it really is the basis of all human rights. So thanks for reminding us of all of that. And the data about Cooper, and I too would like to acknowledge that I'm on the Wurundjeri people's lands and pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging, is really stark, isn't it, Kate? You know, 1,000 people homeless. I did know that stat, about 7.2% of all jobs are going to be lost. So it is not just a problem for now that's going away. It's something we really need to focus on. And it's been lovely to hear our Shadow Treasurer, Jim Chambers, say that one of the most important things that we could do in getting past this economic slump of COVID, of the virus, is to build public and social housing. Like, it's a fabulous stimulus for the economy and it will provide a wonderful social good. So let's hope that the government gets that message and hears it. So thank you again for having me today. It's been a really informative session. I've really enjoyed it. So thanks so much, everybody. Is there anything you want me to do now? Do you want me to hold up? So is it going to fit? How do I do this? Do you want to see my, is that good? Is someone taking a screenshot? So I can, if someone takes a screenshot, I'll promote it on my, putting my face over the top. Okay, great. So very happy to support that. And you'll certainly see it plastered all over my socials, etc. So good luck with it. Very happy to be a champion for you in Parliament and amplify those wonderful voices of Salim and Janine. So thank you so much for that.
Great. Thank you so much, Ged. And thank you to all of our amazing speakers. Thank you to Meredith for spending time. Meredith is the network coordinator for the 30 agencies that receive homelessness funding across the Northern Metropolitan Melbourne region, and does such an amazing job connecting all of us organisations and networking and making sure that we with her work really close together. So thank you, Meredith. To Salim and to Janine, we've had 4 messages come through on the chat, and it's been around thank you for your bravery, thank you for your stories, and thank you for sharing those stories and your journey with us. You're truly 2 remarkable individuals, and I wish you well. And Salim, good luck with the job. I'm sure it'll be great in 6 weeks, hopefully. And to Kate, it's always amazing to get your figures and to get the work that you guys do, and Everybody's Home campaign is so vital and so important to ensure that there's housing solutions for all Australians. And I would love the 62 participants to get on board, sign the petition, and speak widely and broadly to everybody that they know to ensure that everybody gets on board. And to Ged, thank you so much for signing the campaign. And to all of you, the 62 people that have come and listened to this webinar, thank you for giving up your time for such a worthy cause. This will be it's live streaming on Facebook as we speak, and it will be shared widely. So thank you all very much for attending, and have a great day, and we'll see you soon. Thank you.